Scanning for audio.
Welcome to a Tin Dog podcast in the summer of Blakes7. We're up to episode 10, Breakdown. Yeah, breakdown is... You know when some people say things are more than the sum of their parts? Perhaps Blakes7's version of that is breakdown. Or perhaps it's actually less than the sum of its parts, which goes down fairly well. You see, it's just a bit dull, and yet it's got some character development. Tick that box. It's got some activity in space, some subterfuge, and what it hasn't got are aliens or that much to do with the Federation. It's basically a rush to the hospital to try and save Gan. But what actually happens in this story? Well, let's examine it. Gan's alone driving on board the ship. He's the only person on the bridge of the Liberator. Gan has come across as not the brightest button, but thanks to Zen's help he's allowed to drive. That's nice. All the automatics are basically there. So, you know, how much actual driving he's doing, I'll let you get on with that one. Gan starts pulling some ridiculously odd faces. Now, the fact that these are ridiculously odd probably means they're actually quite realistic when it comes to the odd faces people pull when they're having some sort of stroke. Basically what's happening is Gan's limiter, the thing that stops him from killing people, is playing up. Now, the limiter, on the face of things, like many things in science fiction, is kind of an idea. He's got something that stops him from killing. Except, it doesn't. He can still bash heads in. Is it intent? Is it the fact that he can be a bit threatening, which he is in various other stories, but doesn't actually follow through? So he knows he isn't going to follow through with it, so therefore he isn't in pain, and the limiter gives him pain. Or is it the nature of his crimes, keeping this a clean podcast? I.e., when certain aspects of his attacking are in hand, then that's when the limiter would kick in. But wouldn't idle thoughts about that kind of attack also kick in? It's very odd. But basically, in a purely don't think about it too much kind of a way, basically Gan's in pain and the limiter inside of his head is playing up. Well, that's not great. Gan's not the most well-developed character. He's down as the heavy, the bodyguard, the physical character, and he can't do the things that he's supposed to do because he's got something built into him that stops him. Well, now it's playing up, so logically, storyline-wise, what would happen is the limiter would be removed or switched off, thus allowing Gan to be an ordinary member of the crew. That doesn't happen. That would actually make sense. That would allow him freedom on another level of narrative, but no, that's not gone into. So they have to find someone who can save them. Now, there's a few different ideas. Most of them are too far away. There's even a mention of an alien race who hates humanity. Fair enough. That instantly makes them Avon's choice. After a lot of bickering, bantering, and just plain getting on each other's nerves, eventually they do a search for a space hospital, because obviously it's a hospital in space. They're all too far away, but Avon knows of one that is not on people's lists. XK72. Oh yes, there's nothing like the use of the X's and the K's in order to be spacey. So it's a space hospital where they have space doctors who do space medicine on Gan. Played by somebody who was in Empire Strikes Back and is apparently in Game of Thrones, although as I've said many times, I've still not seen it. But of course I'm getting ahead of myself. They know where XK72 is. They can get there if they go in a big straight line, and Zen won't let them. This is padding. It feels like padding. It feels ridiculous. And the science involved, it's nearly as bad as Kill the Moon. Obviously it's not. Now, Zen refuses to take them straight to XK72. Not that side of the river, not at this time of night, mate. No, is basically what he's saying. So, they switch Zen off and decide to drive in a big straight line. Now, there's a big thing on Zen's map that says, "Here be dragons, don't go there, you'll die." And you know what? Strictly speaking, that is the case. Also, strictly speaking, if Zen had these Asimov blocks built in, and you know what? On certain Asimov short stories, there's a robot who has his self-preservation so high that it's impossible for him to do anything at all. And that's one of those nice stories. And that's what Zen, being the heart of the entire Liberator, should do. He should be able to override the human beings involved on the ship before he heads off. But no, they switch him off. And the automatics, who are apparently separate computers, are also switched off as well. They all help drive the ship. Gan, of course, appears to be milking cows in his sleep and is coming in and out of consciousness. In order to be more padding, of course, he will come out of consciousness, appear completely fine and start attacking people. So they're on their way to XK72 through the darkest here-be dragons of space, where they come across something that affects their drive systems. Do you not think, in this world of big things in space, something that drags you off course and you're a ship that size, going that fast, you're going to know that it's something akin to a black hole? The word black hole, and I was very careful when I watched this episode, is not mentioned once. The nearest they come up to is a gravity well, some sort of magnetic interference. I know that magnetism and electricity and pure energy are all on the same electromagnetic spectrum. They're all part of the same thing. And I know in the future people will have new words for new things, so that's fine. So that's basically a big swirly space thing that sucks you in that isn't a black hole, because if it was a black hole, going straight through it would be death. And regardless of how good your spaceship is, you know, it's still a spaceship. It's still living in apparently a version of the real world, admittedly the future. It's not a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Oh no. The physics here is spurious and bends for the fiction. But you know what? I'm a Doctor Who fan. I'm used to this sort of thing. So they get through this strange, spinny, whirly whirlpool of doom, which isn't a black hole, not at all honest, which appears to have been filmed by using a big black bath, which is conical and full of dust, and you thread the film in the projector backwards. No, that's a completely different program. I am rambling. If you didn't get that reference, go away and read some Douglas Adams. Now, they're on their way to XK17. Villa says, "Oh, that wasn't much fun at all," and everyone was right, and most of the audience is a tad bored. Gan, of course, has woken up, attacked someone, and been put back to sleep again, and is still in a lot of pain. And then they have to bluff their way out with XK17. Well, they arrive, they chat. The doctor isn't thick and says, "So why is your crew member got a limiter?" He tries to play for time in order to get Gan just to die. He's worked out who everyone is. And, of course, popped a call through to Federation control. They might be a neutral base, but they wouldn't mind the use of some of the Federation's resources. How you remain neutral in space is beyond me. I suppose the best way to do that is just to hide, because the Federation will come and get you. So, after lots of threats and boring chat, eventually Gan is repaired and put back to normal. Everyone drives off and the Federation pursuit ships turn up and bizarrely and accidentally destroy the space station. There's some gratuitousness on board, which makes no sense from the character development point of view, and then it's all over. Everyone laughs for no apparent reason whatsoever. What was all that about? You know what? The finishing with the pointless laughter thing is something that's irritated me for a long time. I know it actually feels more like an episode of Police Squad than an episode of Star Trek for that pointless laughter thing, so I can take it or leave it. To be honest, I think I'd rather leave it. So, not my favourite story. But you know what? I've still managed to talk about it for 10 minutes. Right, I'll leave you and come back very soon with the last few episodes of Blake7. Next time, Bounty. Or is it Cabana? I used to love Cabanas. Do you remember them? Oh, while you're listening, here's something. I've decided to give away one of my copies of Blake7 Series 1. And for that end, I'll have a competition. And the competition, I want you to email me at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk and tell me why you want Series 1 of Blake7. That's it. No question, no challenging thing that involves you spending a second and a half on Google. No, give this some thought. And I'll give the prize of the DVDs, to the person who gives me the funniest answer. Why do you want Series 1 of Blake7 from me? That's it. Go on. Give it some thought. Give me an email. So until next time, be seeing you. You've been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast, available on RSS, iTunes, Stitcher, Audio Boom and Tumblr. Doctor Who and its associated works are copyright of the BBC. No infringement is intended. You can contact the show, donate, buy merchandise or find out more about my other projects by visiting the Tin Dog Podcast homepage and clicking on the links. The Tin Dog Podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance. On the 5th of September 2015, Hooverville will return. The biggest little Doctor Who convention in the whole of the UK is proud to present several fantastic guests. First off is the Colin Baker, a man who needs absolutely no introduction. Guests also include the author Jenny Colgan, responsible for Dark Horizons and Time Trips, Richard Marson, the man behind JNT, The Life and Scandalous Times, and the brand new book Drama and Delight, the biography of Verity Lambert, Dan Starkey, the man behind the mask when it comes to Commander Strax, and of course Ian the Elf in the Christmas special, Terence Dix, one of the men behind the Third Doctor and more Target novelisations than you can shake a stick at, the actor David Benson, from Robot of Sherwood, Iris Wildtime and the Scarifiers, Matthew Waterhouse, yes, Adric, Michael Pickwood, the current production manager on Doctor Who, and Karen Louise Hollis, author of The Man Behind the Master, the biography of Anthony Ainley. More guests may be added, but either way, that's a fantastic lineup. Visit the Derby Quad website on www.derbyquad.co.uk and follow the links. Saturday the 5th of September 2015. See you there.
Tonight,